Hey everyone, it's Dominic from the Primetime Treasure eBay store and YouTube channel. Want to welcome you back to another video. I want to welcome new subscribers like Rose Maldonado and Sin City Hustlers, and also people who have just been coming back for a while and watching these videos and commenting like Northern Discount. I really appreciate your support. Hope you enjoy this one as well. In this one, I want to talk to you about something that happened this weekend. I'm going to bring you to a video clip in a minute of me actually out in the field doing some sourcing work. I happened to go to a rummage sale that was at a high school. Now, this is in a more well-to-do area, about half an hour or so from where I live, but I happened to be nearby there anyway for something else, so it made kind of sense for me to stop by there. It basically was 100 tables or so from different people in the community who would donate their goods for sale, and they would use the proceeds to support programs for the school. So, when it's donated goods like that, it's not really people who are trying to individually make a lot of money. They're just trying to kind of raise money. So, it kind of varies in terms of the quality of what you're going to get in there. I've been there twice and have never really found much of great value there. Found a couple little things here or there. So, I'm there this weekend with my daughter, and I am over at one of the tables, and I'm looking at the remote controls. Check out my video on sourcing remote controls because you can make good money with that. I'll actually link to that at the end of this video if you haven't seen that. But I'm checking them out, and all of a sudden, my daughter says to me, "Dad, look over there, comic books." Now, I have been to many rummage sales, and I've never seen boxes of comic books at a rummage sale. What you see here are called short boxes, but in this sale, there are actually several long boxes of comic books there. So let me now take you to actually what happened and what I saw, and then we're going to come back and we're going to discuss it. All right, so here we are. We're inside the gym. You can see it's pretty big. There's lots of tables that are set up all over the place. So we're just going to check them out systematically. Again, I've never had great luck here, but just because it's such a big place, you never know what you might find. So hopefully we'll have some luck and check it out. All right, if I find anything good, I'll let you know. So lo and behold, we find 2 boxes of comic books, which you don't normally find at these places, but you see the prices here, 50 cents each, $100 a box. It's way over what you would want to spend for this. You don't want to spend more than 15 cents a comic or more than $20 for a box. The other thing is, if you look on the back of these, they put stickers on each of these. And if you peel the sticker back, you see what's going to happen is that they're going to get damaged. So you would not want to buy these because the stickers are on the backs of all the books, and all but one of them have a protective sheath on the outside of it. All the other ones, as you can see, really don't have that. I mean, there may be a few that have bags on them, but most of them don't. So as a result, the other thing is it would be labor intensive to take the stickers off of each one of these things. So you don't want to do that. All right, everyone, so let's kind of recap what took place with that video. And in doing so, I'm going to do this by giving you some information on a side-by-side with the short boxes and the long boxes. So I showed you the short boxes here below. This is actually a long box that you see here. And to give you a sense of the size differential, let's just pull this one out right here, and we'll just put this right next to it. And you can see here that the long box is about double the size of the short box. Not exactly, but pretty close. Now, if the comic books are bagged and boarded, and by that, I mean that you can see there is a bag that they are in. It's a plastic bag, and there's a backing board on the back. It's a thin sheet of cardboard. If they're bagged and boarded, and that's important to know because those add weight and they add thickness. to the box, especially if they're all like that. That's going to be approximately 140 comic books are going to be in that box if it's filled from front to back. So keep that number in mind, write it down somewhere if you were just trying to estimate to do a count, because you might come across a situation, haven't come across it at rummage sales before except for that one, but when I go out to source comic book collections, or if I do happen to run into one at a garage sale, that's just kind of a good number to keep in your head if they are these shorter boxes like this. Now, if it's the longer box and they're all bagged and boarded, you're talking about 250, 275 comic books, give or take. Now, what I'm telling you is a rule of thumb for your average standard size comic book. However, you do have to keep in mind whether or not there are thicker books in there. Especially these days, there are all these different trade paperbacks, and you could see they come in all different sizes. So this is a bit thicker than a regular size comic book that you would see right here. You could see the difference. And then this one right here is even a little bit thicker than that. So if there's a bunch of those that are in there, like there were in that rummage sale, that's going to significantly affect the count. So as best as I can recall, I actually did a count of the first box, and my daughter counted up the second box, and there was like only about 200 or so in that in the long box, because first of all, it wasn't completely filled, so you have to take that into consideration, and secondly, there were a lot of thick ones in there, so that decreased the amount. Now, I have plenty of long boxes here that they are all regular size comic books, and they are not bagged and boarded, and there's about 375 to 400 in there. So obviously makes a big difference in terms of the count. For a short box, if they are not bagged and boarded, could be about 200 that you could fit in there. So it really, really depends, and you need to know about whether or not they're bagged and boarded. So that's just some important information that I wanted to give you about the number of books that you could estimate that are in there. What I tend to do in situations when I go sourcing and there's a large volume of books is I will take all the boxes and I will condense them all, and I will just get a general sense of whether or not they all look like there's about the same number of books in each one in terms of the thickness. I'll just kind of eye it. And if so, what I'll do is I will count up how many comics are in one box, use that as an estimate in my head. You got to have to figure out also that just as like anything that you source, whether it's clothes or whatever, that there's going to be some items in there are damaged. So you just kind of subtract a few that way, like 3, 4 damage per box. Eye it, look it, do a couple of spot checks. Maybe there's more in there that are damaged or not. You gotta get an estimate of it, but then you just come up with your number times the number of boxes there are. So let's say there's 145 comic books. They're all bagged and boarded in short boxes, or 140, and there's 8 boxes, and you just multiply 140 times 8 to get an estimate. You're just gonna get an estimate on it. Okay, and you want to make sure you try to underestimate it rather than overestimate it, because you want to make sure you get the best deal for yourself when you're trying to figure out how much you ultimately want to pay per book. So let's go back to what happened in that video. So one of the things that I want to make sure of in that, on my channel, one of the things I've talked about a lot is that I specialize in selling comic books. And most of my videos, you see these big stacks of comic books behind me. And in other videos, you might have seen some other areas where I have comic books. I have them all over the place, and I do really well with selling them. And some of you, like Laura Cohn, have asked me questions about going out and getting into this area and sourcing them, which I totally encourage people doing, but you definitely have to develop some knowledge about the area, or you could easily get ripped off. So one of the concerns I have is that someone might watch one of the videos where I'm talking about comic books, go out to a rummage sale like that, and pay them what they were asking, which was 50 cents per book or $100 per box. That is absolutely, completely, and utterly ridiculous for a reseller. No one should be paying that kind of money for a box of comic books, even a long box, okay? In general, as a rule of thumb, for most comic book boxes, you're going to want to be at approximately 15 to 20 cents a book. Some people even say get down to 10 cents a book. Often I could get them for that. Typically, if you're buying them in large bulk amounts, you could get the price down to that much. And you really don't want to pay more than $20 for a long box, $10 for a short box. Now it's easier to make those kind of deals if you're buying 10, 15 boxes. When you're just buying 1 or 2 boxes, it's really trickier to make that type of deal with somebody. So when you're buying comic books, really buying them in bulk is really where you want to be. Now, there are exceptions to everything, and there's exceptions to what I just told you. So if, for example, you were to come across a box of comic books that was filled with The Walking Dead and Deadpool and Star Wars comics, you would definitely be okay to pay a little more for that, $25, $30, $35. That's okay. You have to know the subject area. Or let's say they were much, much older books. They were books from the 1940s, 1950s, 1960s, and they were popular books. They were old Captain Americas, old Amazing Spider-Mans, Action Comics, Detective Comics, which Batman was in. Action Comics is Superman. And they're older copies like that. You know, individually they could be worth a lot of money. Brave and the Bold is another common one that had Batman in it. You definitely pay a little more from that. You could pay up to $50 a box for that. But $100 a box is crazy, and you should not do that. So the reason why I think that took place is because I think the people who are selling them just didn't know. And a lot of people have these misconceptions about comic books in terms of how much they should price them, because they just hear stories about someone who found an old comic book and sold it for a lot of money, so now they think they should just price all their comic books high. I think the person who wound up donating those comic books to them is probably going to be pretty upset when he or she finds out what they actually did to those books to actually damage them. And that's the other thing to look out for. This is why you want to keep your comic books in bags and boards. Because if you remember what they did in that video, they literally took the time and effort to take a circular sticky tag and write the price 50 cents and then the item number for every single comic book. Now, we counted. There are about 470, 500 comic books. Do you know how much time that must have taken them to do? So, there was no one else selling comic books. So what would happen is when you went to check out at this sale, they would write down the item number so they knew whose it was. Well, common sense, if there's nobody else in this sale selling comic books, then when someone comes up with a comic book, then it must be from that particular seller. So they could just have a note that says, hey, anyone sells comic books is from this particular person, so we want to keep a log. Or put them in bags and boards and have a sticker on the back. This way, when you peel the sticker off the back of the plastic, you don't damage the underlining book. And that's common, by the way, when you find comic book collections. You'll see stickers and all sorts of stuff on the front, on the back of the plastic, okay, but not on the actual book. And you could see, you want to test that out. When you peel that off, you could see that was ripping the underlying paper of the comic book, rendering them worthless. Because they weren't worth that much already as it is, because most of them were 1990s comic books and late 1980s books. As a general rule of thumb, books from the 1990s are not worth that much. They're not that they don't have any value. I mean, there's some that don't, but you definitely don't want to be in a situation of overpaying for them. Also, you don't want to be in a situation of getting yourself into a labor-intensive situation where now you have bought 500 comic books and you have to peel off the stickers for each of them, and then you're damaging them in the process. Now, here's what I would have done. If they did not have that situation where they did not damage the books, what I would have done is offered them $50 for all of the comic books that were there. Now, they would have wanted $200. Now, it was towards the end of the day, and my argument to them would have been, listen, what's the chances that in the next hour somebody's going to come in and spend the equivalent of $100 buying these books the equivalent of $50 buying them individually at 50 cents a piece? Very, very low. And what's the chance someone's going to come in and spend $200 on those box of comic books? If someone's going to do that, they would have done it already in the day. So why not just sell them? I'll take them off your hands. Here's your 50 bucks. And, you know, here you could use it for improving your school that you wouldn't have had the $50 otherwise. That would have been my argument, and I'm pretty confident based on how I've negotiated deals with comics and other things in the past that that would have worked. But once I saw that the books were damaged with the stickers on them, I wasn't interested anymore. So I did, though, try to educate the woman who was in charge and let her know basically the mistake that they made in terms of damaging all the books, and let them know if they ever get these kind of comics in before, how to do it differently so that they don't damage them in the process. Again, I think the person who gets those books back is going to be pretty annoyed. So anyway, so don't overpay. If you happen to put up a Craigslist ad like I do about comic books and people start writing you back and they start telling you how much they want for their boxes of books, the vast majority of times you're going to get people who are citing you really, really, really high amounts per box. You don't want to pay that. I'm telling you, just walk away. You want the person who needs money now, it really just needs to get rid of the collection, wants the money to buy something else, and just doesn't mind getting rid of it. And those are the collections that I purchase, and those are some of the best collections that I purchase. The ones that have the most money, the most value. So that's what you're looking for. You're not looking to buy them off of another collector who's trying to make a ton of money off it, because remember, you're buying them as a reseller, and there's a lot of processing involved. You often have to sort them, you have to organize them. They're not always going to come bagged and board, so you have to also factor in the cost of bagging and boarding them yourself, so because you want to have them protected when they go out in the mail. So those are just some pointers about comic books, and I would be very, very happy to answer any questions that you have about comic book or comic book sourcing. All you have to do is drop a comment down below. This is my favorite area, so I love to engage with people in it. So please drop a comment down below. Now, if you're a comic collector as well, we are looking for collectors to join my Facebook group, the Facebook Reselling Resource Center. So check the Facebook link down below in the description section and come on and drop by. Or if you're a collector in any other area, that's the #1 thing people in our group are looking for, is other collectors to kind of help out with imparting knowledge about different things. Even if you're not a reseller, come by and join us. You get to help out the other resellers. So we'd love to have you there. And if you are a reseller, of course, and you're not in the group, please come by. It's an awesome group, lots of positivity, no drama. You know, you could promote your brand, all sorts of great things, links, videos, all sorts of stuff that's there. So just come on by. I am sure that you will like it. All you have to do is hit a join request. If your profile looks good, I will let you in. No problem. Hit the like button if you like this video. Also, make sure you subscribe. It's because I saw new subscribers coming on today that I came to make this video. Okay, that's important to me. I need to see that people like the videos, that they are engaging in the videos. That helps me come up with more content. It keeps me motivated and letting the channel keep going and growing. So I hope you enjoy it. Again, if you're coming by to watch the videos, you haven't subscribed yet, hit that treasure chest, hit the subscribe button, and come back for more. Thanks a lot. I hope you enjoyed the video.